Hey everyone, welcome back to the Allison+Sports podcast series. I'm Shane Wynn. I'm joined by my colleague today, Alex Pitticelli from Allison+Sports, and our special guest, Jonathan Jones, who is lead NFL insider for CBS Sports. How you doing, Jonathan?
Hey Shane, I'm doing well. I appreciate you guys having me on.
Awesome, man. Looking forward to the conversation. As we know, NFL season starts tomorrow. There's a lot of stories to talk about. Jonathan, let's hear a little bit about you. And what I'm most interested in hearing is your take on what it actually means to be an NFL insider.
Yeah, it's humbling. It's great. It means having information, right? And also getting a lot of information and deciding what to do with it. What info's good, what info's bad, what info is useless, what info you need to get a little bit more of in order to disseminate what can make noise, what should make noise, right? There's a lot of discretion that is involved and required with this job. Is that actually news, or has it become news for other external reasons and purposes? And so, yeah, it's a different job certainly than what I've had before, coming up as a capital J journalist and a writer from a newspaper to a magazine. But it's fun, it's challenging, and ultimately it's very rewarding.
So you've been traveling, to training camps throughout the country so far this preseason. What are the biggest stories that you're following and paying attention to this season?
Well, the Cowboys were one of the first teams that I went to. And so no matter what, good, bad, mediocre, the Cowboys are always a story. And so we'll always keep a close eye on Dallas. I'm thinking about Trey Lance, and when I was out in San Francisco, and he didn't have a great day when I saw him. You're very careful when you parachute in for a day, not to make sweeping, broad generalizations about a certain team, right?
Yeah.
But he didn't look that great that day. You read reports out of San Francisco, hasn't looked that great a lot of days out there. Not saying it's not going to work, but it's something I'm definitely keeping an eye on there. You look elsewhere in the Rams. I mean, every team really does have to battle that Super Bowl hangover. And a lot of times you look at the Bengals, right? And it's the hangover after losing the Super Bowl. And so can Joe Burrow recreate that magic? They won in spite of that offensive line. They had a lot of very fortunate injury luck, a lot of luck with special teams. So is that going to continue, or was that a flash in the pan? And can the Rams replicate what they did as well? So, and then of course there's Brady. We're blessed with young quarterbacks in the NFL. We're blessed with older quarterbacks. There's storylines across every team, and also everybody's 0-0 right now. So that means that everyone's going 17-0, and there will be 32 teams hoisting a Lombardi at the end of the year, right?
So, talk to us a little bit. Obviously there's a lot for you to follow in your role covering the entire league. Like, what's your approach to storytelling in the season? How are you moving week to week and really deciding where you're going to put your editorial focus?
Yeah, it's a great question. And it's something that I think requires some evolution on my part. It's, okay, what are folks talking about? What are the stories? And a lot of times the stories are obvious, right? If Tom Brady, if Aaron Rodgers say something, if there is a trend that is going on with the superstars in this league, Patrick Mahomes, right, not being able to defeat cover two like we saw for a spell last season. If there is a player who is unhappy with the team, right, some of those are very obvious that you follow, and then others are less obvious, and you have to rely upon your sources that you're keeping in regular contact with. Hey, you might want to be on the lookout for this because this is what happened in the locker room after the game, or yeah, coach was a little weird Monday in his team meeting, just monitor that. So, I think any sports fan who probably has a fantasy football team who pays decent enough attention to the NFL can really sort of mark 3 out of the top 5 stories that'll probably be produced that week. And then the great thing about the NFL, while it's one of the shortest seasons in all of professional sports, man, there is always a story with this league.
Totally. Now, there's the action that's on the field, but there's a lot, obviously, that goes off the field, with brands and sponsors that are trying to create football programs each week. And I know this is something that you and I have talked a lot about, just in the work that we've done together over the years. But, how do you think about, where the business of football fits into your coverage and the stories that you're looking to tell each week?
Yeah, I think fans are smarter today than they ever have been, right? And I think that next year they're going to be smarter than they are today. And so I think that fans are probably more interested than they were 5 years ago in sort of, hey, what's going on with the business of sports, right? It's becoming a little bit more mainstream. Now, I don't know that the average fan necessarily knows or cares about the salaries of a certain commentator, or know right now who has the rights to a certain game later on, right? But I do think and firmly believe that fans are caring more about it today than they ever have. And so, sponsors are having to be far more crafty and creative. And I think that, no matter what, in these partnerships that these brands have with athletes, how they want to leverage them with media is more important than ever, because there is a direct to consumer model, right? You can be a brand, you can work with a player, and then that player, and we'll say he, for the purposes of NFL, he can put it out on his own social channels. Maybe he's not all that great sometimes at putting it out there. Maybe he's not always getting the sort of engagement that brand would really hope to get. And so, listen, I know I'm traditional media. I know I came up in newspapers, but sometimes the old ink stain wrench is good enough.
Yeah, we've seen a lot of a trend, actually, Jonathan, in athletes that are not just lending like name and likeness anymore to brands that they're working with, but they're actually getting involved, directly with the brands themselves, and in some cases, taking stock in the company, in other cases, actually building the company themselves, and we find that to be very interesting from a storytelling standpoint too.
Yeah, it definitely is. I think it does have to feel organic. And a lot of those, as you talk, I'm thinking of a lot that do feel organic. But, it wasn't that long ago that we all remember when there was, hey, the publicist is texting the athlete, hey, be sure to tweet this. And then the athlete is copying that exact message and then pasting it to their socials. Be sure to post this, right? So we're really not that far removed from that athlete. And so fortunately, though, this younger generation understands the Twitter and the Instagram a bit better.
Totally. Who do you think are some of the athletes that you've seen that have done really the best job of kind of sharing their voice in their brand partnerships?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think, you always, again, you want it to feel organic. Like, I think the first person that comes to my mind is DK Metcalf, and he has a sort of partnership with, I think it's Nestle or Nesquik or something, because he loves that drink. And so it's like, yeah, whenever he has something on his Twitter account, while it may be hashtag ad, I feel like he just posted it because he wanted to post it, right? Yeah. And so if you can get that sort of organic deal there, I think that really works well, because I don't know. I understand that advertising is supposed to work on a subliminal level a lot of times. I, as a consumer, don't like being beaten over the head with, hey, this athlete is very clearly making money off of whatever this post is. And so I think about him, and it's just like, yeah, he's probably making some coin off that, but I only think about that secondarily.
Yep, totally. I think that's a really great example. I think, we've looked across the league, and I think to Shane's point, like at one point OBJ was named creative director for Pedialyte for one of their commercials, and I always watch that, and I was like, I don't really know if that one really tracks for me. Like, why? How do those two things work together? But the DK Metcalf Nesquik example is a really
That's a good
awesome
one.
Example.
Yeah, for sure. All right, Jonathan. So I'm going to put you on the spot here. Who do you want to see succeed this season in the league?
Yeah, the teams that give me the most secrets. That's who I want to see succeed, because we'll be talking about them more, and I'll be better sourced. No, it's fun, and we've gone through now a couple iterations where I've been at CBS, and really more focused in this role, where it's fun to see the team that no one has been talking about for
Right.
a little bit. I would go back to 2016, and I was at Sports Illustrated, and I really, at the start of the playoffs, I wanted to cover the Falcons because I believed that the Falcons were going to be the team that won the Super Bowl. And I was almost right. And there weren't many nationals at that. There weren't many nationals at the time that really felt that way about them, right? The Cowboys and all of those things. And so it's a lot of fun when somebody kind of comes out of nowhere, like the Bengals last year, right? And I think it was good to introduce a little bit of new blood in there. Do I love, covering Kansas City? Do I think that Patrick Mahomes is great for the game? Andy Reid, great for the game? Right. Yes, of course. But, might people start getting a little bored if they saw the Kansas City Chiefs in yet another Super Bowl, right? I wouldn't,
Right.
but many could. And so, it's for me, I want to see the teams. I always want to see interesting teams. I remember in 2015, I was at the Charlotte Observer. I covered the 15-1 Carolina Panthers. And any team that's 15-1 is going to be interesting because they're going to be fun because they're happy that they're winning. But that team had so much personality, from Cam
big
to
time.
Josh Norman and so many guys, right? And so, okay, you can be winning, but if you're the Patriots of yesteryear and you're winning and you're 14-2, but you're never really saying anything, is that a fun team to cover? I don't know if they are.
Right. Well, look, we hope it's going to be another fun NFL season. There's clearly a lot of stories out there. We're going to be seeing a lot of you on NFL pregame and NFL Today, and hanging with James Brown and Boomer and Phil Simms and those guys. So congratulations to you, by the way. It's awesome to see you elevate this way in your career, and we really appreciate you hanging with us on the Allison+Sports podcast series.
Yeah, no, I'm excited. We're going to still be on that other pregame show on CBS Sports Network with a fantastic group there. And then obviously at noon Eastern, we're going to start up the NFL Today, and so excited to get working with those guys. It really is a dream come true.
It's awesome.
Thank you so much, Jonathan. We really appreciate the time.
Thanks so much, guys.